Welcome to Famevora. The Magnificent Seven made riding into danger look like the only dignified thing a man could do. 7 guns, 1 desperate village, and a kind of honor that made bullets almost feel secondary. But real life doesn't always honor its legends. Some of these actors became immortal icons. Others faded into silence. And some stories ended in ways far heavier than any on-screen farewell. Stay with us, because this is about what happened after the ride. Some men lead through force. Chris Adams led through presence alone. Yul Brynner, born July 11, 1920 in Vladivostok, Russia, was 40 when he took command of the Magnificent Seven. Already an Oscar winner, he gave Chris stripped authority, clipped speech, steady eyes, and a code deeper than money. From driving a funeral wagon through hostile ground to anchoring the village's last stand, he carries the film's moral weight effortlessly. Chris chases no treasure, only purpose in a world forgetting men like him. That quiet sorrow is the film's true spine. Brynner continued in Hollywood and on stage, touring The King and I on Broadway for years. A heavy smoker, he developed lung cancer and died October 10, 1985, aged 65. His Adams remains the definitive Western leader, austere, principled, unforgettable. If Chris Adams was the spine, Vin Tanner was the pulse. Steve McQueen, born March 24, 1930 in Beech Grove, Indiana, was 30 when he climbed onto that wagon beside Brynner and matched him effortlessly. Vin says little but misses nothing, reading every room through calm blue eyes, flipping shells, checking weights. McQueen fills each silence with physical intelligence, drawing the camera without demanding it. His dry humor under fire helps bind the group, his loyalty giving the partnership real gravity. The film propelled his rise, leading to The Great Escape, Bullet, and the Thomas Crown Affair. Off-screen, he lived as hard as his image: motorcycles, racing, relentless risk. Steve McQueen died November 7, 1980, aged just 50, from mesothelioma linked to asbestos exposure. His Vin Tanner remains one of the cleanest expressions of his genius, still magnetic and completely alive. Every great Western needs a villain who finds himself entirely reasonable. Eli Wallach, born December 7, 1915 in Brooklyn, New York, was 45 when he became Famevora, the bandit chief terrorizing a helpless Mexican village with almost philosophical ease. He doesn't simply menace, he lectures and jokes, moving through the village like a man at peace with his own brutality. Wallach gives Famevora quick, amused eyes and sudden cruelty, making him entertaining and genuinely threatening in equal measure. Every raid sharpens the stakes and reminds us exactly why the Seven were hired. The role foreshadowed his genius for dangerous men, later perfected as Tuco in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Off-screen, Wallach was warm, witty, and kept working into his 90s. He died June 24, 2014, aged 98 from natural causes, leaving Famevora among cinema's most beloved rogues. Bernardo signs up for the bluntest reason: he needs the money. Charles Bronson, born November 3, 1921 in Ehrenfeld, Pennsylvania, was 39 when he brought this rough gunman to life. He arrives with a grim joke about gunfighters' wages and zero illusions about nobility. But the village children change everything. They trail him everywhere, and Bronson captures the shift in small, underplayed moments: a gruff pep talk, a tired smile, the realization that these boys see a hero where he sees only a hired hand. Those scenes carry the film's most human undercurrent. Bronson later starred in The Dirty Dozen, Once Upon a Time in the West, and the Death Wish series, celebrated for his granite face and minimal dialogue. He died August 30, 2003, aged 81 from pneumonia. Bernardo proves even the hardest gunslinger can quietly ache for family. Britt doesn't boast, threaten, or explain himself. He simply acts, and that silence is his signature. James Coburn, born August 31st, 1928 in Laurel, Nebraska, was 32 when he stepped in, carrying a lean frame and cool confidence that needed no introduction. In the film's most iconic moment, he accepts a challenge and proves with chilling efficiency that his knife outruns a pistol. Coburn plays him with a dry half-smile and precise economy, turning Britt into the distilled essence of Western cool, a man beyond any need to prove himself. The role launched him as Hollywood's premier laconic tough guy, leading to The Great Escape, Our Man Flint, and an Oscar-winning turn in Affliction. Off-screen, he loved jazz, martial arts, and fast cars. James Coburn died November 18, 2002, aged 74 from a heart attack. As Britt, he defined the effortlessly lethal gunslinger for generations. Lee is the gunfighter whose reputation is intact, but whose nerve is quietly failing. Robert Vaughn, born November 22, 1932 in New York City, was 28 when he brought rare psychological depth to The Magnificent Seven. He shows us the fractures, restless eyes, hollow bravado, and a silent admission that fear has overtaken confidence. Among the seven, Lee is the most honest about his own unraveling. His arc from paralysis back to courage gives the film one of its most understated emotional journeys. Vaughn went on to international stardom as Napoleon Solo in The Man from UNCLE, working steadily in film, television, and theater while earning a doctorate in communications. Robert Vaughn died November 11, 2016, aged 83 from leukemia. He remains one of the most intelligent presences to ever walk through a Western, and Lee, one of its most honest portraits of courage reclaimed. Chico is all fire and momentum, a farmer's son fleeing the plow toward something he can barely name. Horst Buchholz, born December 4, 1933 in Berlin, Germany, was 27 when he brought unmistakable European energy to The Magnificent Seven. He plays Chico's bravado and insecurity in full, making the character charming and exasperating by turns, forever boasting, forever trying to impress seasoned men. But as the stakes rise, Chico grows up fast. He absorbs the real cost of violence, falls for Petra, and chooses the village over the drifter's life, a decision the film earns completely. Buchholz continued internationally, appearing in Billy Wilder's 1, 2, 3, and later, Life is Beautiful. He died March 3, 2003, aged 69 from pneumonia. His Chico captures the exact trembling edge between reckless youth and hard-won adulthood. Harry Luck is the group's realist, certain no sane man risks everything on principle, and equally certain Chris knows about hidden gold. Brad Dexter, born April 9, 1917 in Goldfield, Nevada, was 43 when he joined The Magnificent Seven. He plays Harry as worldly and self-interested, hardened by circumstance rather than defined by greed. Dexter keeps him likable even as Harry trails Chris chasing imaginary treasure. When the villager's suffering finally reaches him, his transformation feels genuine, and his sacrifice in the final battle carries weight because we've watched every step of the shift. Outside the film, Dexter appeared in Run Silent, Run Deep and The Asphalt Jungle, worked as a producer, and briefly served as Frank Sinatra's bodyguard. Brad Dexter died December 11, 2002, aged 85 from emphysema. Harry proves even the most self-serving man can find a cause worth dying for. Petra carries no weapon and fires no shot, yet her presence anchors the village's humanity. Rosenda Monteros, born August 31, 1935 in Veracruz, Mexico, was 25 when she joined the Magnificent Seven, bringing warmth that grounds the film's human stakes. She hides from the bandits, tends the children, and dares to hope when the seven arrive. Monteros gives Petra an alert gaze and a tentative smile that gradually opens as her bond with Chico deepens. Their romance hints at a future beyond violence, a rebuilt village, a generation that might know peace. Monteros had established herself in Mexican cinema and continued in international film and theater, valued for her poise and emotional honesty. She died December 29, 2018, aged 83, from natural causes. Petra's screen time is modest, but she embodies the film's deepest question. What are those seven guns actually protecting? Hilario begins as a frightened man living under a shadow he cannot escape. Yet he is among the villagers bold enough to ride to the border and hire the gunmen who change everything. Jorge Martinez de Hoyos, born September 25, 1920 in Mexico City, was 40 when he brought quiet dignity to the role. He gives Hilario a careful presence, listening hard to Chris, wrestling privately with fear and pride, slowly finding the resolve to lift a rifle beside his neighbors. In a film full of larger-than-life fighters, Hilario grounds the story in ordinary humanity. The real stakes belong to people who simply want to live without terror. Martinez de Hoyos enjoyed a long career in Mexican cinema and international productions, including The Professionals. He died May 6, 1997, aged 76 from natural causes. Through Hilario, he leaves the image of an ordinary man who discovers, when history demands it, that he is quietly brave. Sotero moves through the village with the ease of a man who has worked that same earth all his life. Enrico Alaniz makes that completely convincing. Born October 25, 1919 in Juarez, Mexico, Alaniz was 41 when he appeared in The Magnificent Seven. A seasoned supporting player in Hollywood westerns, he brought lived-in authenticity that makes every scene feel inhabited rather than staged. Though Sotero receives no defining speech, Alaniz's expressive face traces the rising tension, the anxiety of men deciding whether hired guns are enough, and the slow resolve to fight for themselves. Without faces like his, the village becomes a set rather than a home. Beyond this film, Alaniz accumulated credits in Gunsmoke, Bonanza, and other television westerns. He died March 9, 2015, aged 95 from natural causes. Sotero is the village's quiet core, small in the frame, essential to the story. Not every face in the Magnificent Seven carries a name, but every face carries weight. Natividad Vacío, born September 8, 1912 in El Paso, Texas, was 48 when he stood among the villagers whose lives depend on every standoff. A regular supporting player in American television westerns, he brought an effortless familiarity with horses, dusty streets, and danger that makes his presence feel completely organic. Though his character receives no spotlight, Vacío populates the village with worried fathers and men shaped by a lifetime of working the same land. Every fearful glance during Calvera's raids reminds us this is a real community with real lives at stake. Outside the film, he appeared in The Twilight Zone, The Rifleman, and other television staples. He died May 30, 1996, aged 83 from natural causes. His quiet presence gives the village the texture that makes it worth saving. Thank you for staying with us through every chapter of this story. If it moved you, please subscribe, leave a like, share it with someone who loves cinema, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your support is what keeps Famevora going, and we'll see you in the next one.